back to my channel. So today we're going to be reviewing the new Anastasia Prism palette, and this is how the palette looks. So I'm just going to give you a really quick review on the palette, as well as swatches and an eyeshadow tutorial on this look that I am wearing today. So if you're interested in seeing my first impressions, as well as swatches and an eyeshadow tutorial on this look, then keep on watching. Alright guys, so I'm going to give you a really quick review on the new Anastasia Prism palette. Now this is just how the palette looks. It's really pretty, has that velvety texture just like the Modern Renaissance and the Subculture palette. So I'm first going to get into the color scheme of this palette. So this is just how the palette looks. Has some gorgeous colors, and this palette has mostly metallic shadows, whereas your Subculture palette had mostly matte shadows. Now this Prism palette is their a release for their holiday collection. I'm sorry. Now most people didn't even know they were coming out with this palette. They kind of just dropped it, and I am in love with the color scheme of this palette. This palette honestly blended really nicely. The shadows aren't as chalky as they are in the Subculture palette, or they don't have as much kick up, I would say, as the Subculture palette does. But I mean, of course, you are going to get some kick up, but the shadows are nice and pigmented. The only shadow that I really had a problem with in this palette was the shade Spear, and that's the kind of yellowy looking shade. It just didn't go well with my skin tone. I tried to use it as a transition color, and it just kind of went on really ashy, and then it blended away to nothing. So I mean, other than that, the metallic shades in this palette, they are amazing. Like, they look amazing when you apply them wet or dry. So I did both in this tutorial just to show you guys. But yeah, for the most part, I really like it. The black in the palette is not that pigmented. However, I think that is really nice. It's not that pigmented, but it's buildable. So I think it's really nice that you have a black that you can just go in with and you can just build on it and get the intensity that you like, versus just, you know, going in and having all that pigment and it's super hard to blend out. So I mean, for someone that's like really not familiar with makeup, and you know, they're not as good as blending their eyeshadows, this would be a really nice black. So overall, I really love this palette. I think it has some really good transition shades, and I love that it has a brow bone shade. It has a shade to smoke out the outer V, and then it also has this dark brown. So if you wanted to use a brown versus a black, you can use that to smoke out the outer V. So I honestly love this palette, and I think this is a one-stop shop palette. Like, I didn't have to jump into any other palettes to create this look. So yeah, I love that. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this palette. I'll show you this palette in comparison to the Subculture palette. So here is the Subculture palette, and here is the Prism palette. I mean, now I'm one of those who really, I like the Subculture palette, so I really didn't have anything bad to say about it. The only thing I really didn't like about the palette was that it had so much kick up. But other than that, you know, once you blend out the shadows, like, you don't pack your brush into them, you lightly tap your brush into the shadows and they blend out really nicely on the eye. These blend out really nicely on the eye also. I just love this palette better because it has more metallics, and I'm a metallic girl, so yeah, I love shimmer on the lid. So that's kind of why I like this palette a lot better, and I really like the color scheme of this palette. So yeah, as I said, this review was going to be really quick. I don't know if I mentioned this palette retails for $42, and I will have linked in the description box down below where this palette can be purchased. So I think you can get it on her website, which is AnastasiaBeverlyHills.com, Sephora, and Ulta. As of now, those are the only places that I know that you can get it, but I will check, and I will leave everything in the description box down below. Don't forget to, when my channel reaches 5,000 subscribers, I will be having my next big giveaway, so don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win. So if you guys are interested in seeing swatches as well as an eyeshadow tutorial on the new Anastasia Prism palette, then keep on watching. Alright guys, so this is just a quick overview of the palette and the color layout. I really love the color layout of this palette. And now we're just going to get on to the swatches. And this is the first row, and it is Lucid, Eden, Unity, Sphinx, Oasis, Spear, and Obsidian. Alright guys, and here is the second row, and it is Dimension, Parallel, Pyramid, Throne, Saturn, Eternal, and Lure. So that is both rows of the palette, and this is just a quick overview of the palette, and now we're going to get on to the tutorial. Alright guys, so I'm starting off with the shade Sphere, and like I said, this is the only shade that I had trouble with. I just found it applied really chalky, and like it didn't show up on my skin tone at all. And when I blended another color onto it, it just kind of blended away into nothing. So that's really the only shade in the palette that I had a problem with. Alright, next up I'm going to go into the shade Eden, and I'm going to place this right on top of the shade Sphere. And I'm just going to go in with the shade Saturn, and I'm going to place that right in the crease as well. Alright, now I'm going to go in with the shade Eternal, I think. And I'm going to use this shade in the inner corner of my eye. And these metallic shades apply really nice, wet or dry. But of course they show up a little more pigmented when they're wet. But I mean, you can use them either way. And now I'm going to go in with the shade Throne, which is like one of my favorite shades in the palette. I really love that forest green. And this is applying it with a dry brush. And then I think I wet the brush on the other side. Alright, now I'm going to go into the black shade, which is Obsidian. And I really like this black because it's not super pigmented. Like, it's a really nice black because you have to build on it. So if you are a beginner, this is a really nice black to work with because it doesn't pack such a punch when it goes on. Alright, next up I'm going to go into the shade Unity, and this is like the perfect brow bone shade for my skin tone, so I use that as my brow bone highlight. Alright, and next my face is already done, and I've applied some lashes and liner. Now I'm just going to go in with Saturn on the bottom of the lash line. And then I'm going to add Obsidian, which is that black, to the outer portion of the eye. Like kind of stopping right there in the middle. And then I'm going to add Throne. Alright, next up I'm going to take the shade Lucid, and I'm going to use this as my inner corner or my inner tear duct highlight. Alright, and that completes the look. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos from me. Until the next video.